Street, second and third, 80 second.
Alright, so car on arrival.
Alright, 10 flight, 6 and 2, 1090Z.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am sounding this alarm today because this is a very, very, very messed up story. This is something I have been looking for a while now. I found the information. It was scrubbed from the internet. But thanks to Jankowicz earlier today, she found the information and the documents themselves. I appreciate you, Jankowicz. Ladies and gentlemen, I have mentioned this before. I found the information. You remember me talking about the World Economic Forum having their meeting to dissolve the constitutions and the rights of the people of 195 countries, which happens to be every country around the world? Yeah, we found that information. I've got it. We're going to take a look at all that as well. We also have the information for the $40 billion Ukrainian support bill, whatever you want to call that. We're going to be taking a look through that as well. And the two little extra surprises for you here at the end. Now, as I said before, when tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes duty. Let's take a look at what we have here. This is, being full screen, I could probably pull this back a bit. Here we go. World Health Assembly agrees to launch process to develop historical global accord on pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response. Okay? In a consensus decision aimed at protecting the world from future infectious diseases crisis, the World Health Assembly today agreed to kickstart a global process to draft and negotiate a convention, agreement, or other international instrument under the Constitution of the World Health Organization to strengthen pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response. Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus names. We all know how bad I am with that. The WHO Director General said the decision by the World Health Assembly was historic in nature, vital in its mission, and represented a once-in-a-generation opportunity to strengthen the global health architecture to protect and promote the well-being of all people. The COVID-19 pandemic has shown a light on the many flaws in the global system to protect people from pandemics, the most vulnerable people going without vaccines, health workers without needed equipment to perform their life-saving work, and me-first approaches that stymie the global solidarity needed to deal with a global threat, Dr. Tedros said. But at the same time, we have seen inspiring demonstrations of scientific and political collaboration, from the rapid deployment of vaccines to today's commitment by countries to negotiate a global accord that will help keep your future generations safe from the impacts of pandemics. The Health Assembly met in a special session, the second ever since WHO's founding in 1948, and adopted the sole decision titled The World Together. The decision by the Assembly establishes an intergovernmental negotiation body, or INB, to draft and negotiate a World Health Organization, or WHO, convention, agreement, or other international instrument on pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response, with a view to adoption under the Article 19 of the WHO Constitution and other provisions of the Constitution, and may be deemed appropriate by the INB. Article 19 of the WHO Constitution provides the World Health Assembly with the authority to adopt conventions or agreements on any matter with whose competence. The sole instruments established under the Article 19 to date is the WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, which has made a significant and rapid contribution to protecting people from tobacco since its entry into the force in 2005. Under the decision adopted today, the INB will hold its first meeting by March 2022 to agree on ways of working and timelines, and its second by August of 2022 to discuss progress on a working draft. It will also hold public hearings to inform its deliberations, deliver a progress report on the 76th World Health Assembly in 2023, and summit of its outcome consideration by the 77th in 2024. Through the decision, the World Health Assembly also requested the WHO Director General to convene in the INB meetings and support its work, including by facilitating the preparation of the other United Nations system bodies, non-state actors, and other relevant stakeholders in the process to the extent decided by the INB. Okay, so because of the pandemic and the vaccine, there's problems with that. The entire world is convening to vote on whether this should be a thing or not, whether the World Health Organization should have full and total control of the entire populace of the world during the next pandemic. Now, it's been brought up before by me and some other people that, number one, Bill Gates has said, we're not ready for the next pandemic. Take smallpox, for example. Not too long after that, smallpox vials were found in Philadelphia. FBI said they were going to investigate that, and nothing, not a single thing, not even an update about it, has come forward since. There are biolabs in Ukraine. Russia is looking to shut them down. And there are reports coming out that there are U.S. funded. I can't say that because I'm going to get another strike on, well, not a strike, a warning or strike on YouTube if I do that. But look into that. It is disturbing. And I had a little call it conspiracy theory if you want to, that with what's going on in Ukraine right now, Russia attacking, let's say something gets released, they blame it on Russia, whether it happens to be Russia because they attack one of these facilities, or it is purposely released, or whatever, however you want to go down that rabbit hole. This is worrisome, and we're going to show you why here. All right, the first document, oh, sorry, not even scrolled up to the top here. The first document is from the 75th World Health Assembly, provisional agenda item on the 12th of April. Strengthening WHO preparedness for and response to health emergencies, proposal and amendments to the International Health Regulations in 2005. The Director General has an honor to submit to the Health Assembly for its consideration in accordance with paragraph 1 of Article 55 in the International Health Regulations of 2005, the proposal for amendments to the regulations received from the United States of America pursuant to the said provision, see Annex. Rid of all that too. Okay. In accordance with paragraph 2 of Article 55 in the International Health Regulations of 2005, the Director General communicated to the text of the proposal for amendments to all states parties to the regulations of on January 20th of 2022 via circular letter. Pursuant to paragraph 3 of Article 55, the International Health Regulations of 2005, any amendments to the regulations adopted by the Health Assembly would come into force for all states parties on these same terms and subject to the same rights and obligations as provided for in Article 22 of the Constitution of the World Health Organization and Article 59 to 64 of the International Health Regulations of 2005. Action by the Health Assembly. The Health Assembly is invited to consider the proposed amendments to the International Health Regulations of 2005. This one's kind of blurry, but it says proposal for amendments in the International Health Regulations. Director General of the World Health Organization presents his compliments to the state parties to the International Health Regulations and has the honor to transmit the text for the proposal for amendments of the IHR received from the United States of America pursuant to paragraph 1 of Article 55 of the IHR. In accordance with paragraph 2, this letter constitutes a formal communication of the text of the amendments proposed by the United States of America. Director General of the World Health Organization takes this opportunity to renew to states parties to the IHR the assurance of highest consideration. Why is it so perfect on that screen, but it's not on mine? Wow. Okay. That's a different language. I don't know what that is. Let me see if I can read it off this one. The permanent mission of the United States of America to the United Nations Office or other international organizations in Geneva presents its compliments to the World Health Organization and refers to international health regulations in accordance with Article 55 of the IHR. The United States of America is proposing amendments to the IHR. The mission, by means of this note, and in accordance with Article 55 of the IHR, respectfully request the Director General of the World Health Organization to communicate the text attached proposed IHR amendments to the states parties at least 4 months before the 75th World Health Assembly. So they've already done this. We are also transmitting via this note a letter to World Health Organization Director General Tedros, whatever his name is, for the Assistant Secretary for Global Affairs of the United States Department of Health and Human Services, Lois Pace, reiterating the critical importance of strengthening the IHR, along with other efforts to strengthen the ability of the World Health Organization and member states to prevent, detect, and respond to future public health emergencies of international concern. Does it clear up now? Yeah, here we go. I swallowed that wrong. Oh, Jesus. That went down the wrong pipe. I'm sorry. I fuck up every time, don't I? And I know I shouldn't be doing this, but fuck it, this is going to be... Jesus Christ. Whatever. The world's on fire. I don't care. Let's see. Explanation and changes. The proposed new text shown in bold underline and proposed deletions to existing text is shown through a strike through. All other text would remain unchanged. Each state party shall develop, strengthen, and maintain as soon as possible, but no later than 5 years from the entry into force of these regulations for that state party. So in other words, all these effects, you have up to 5 years to comply for. The capacity to detect, assess, and notify and report events in accordance with these regulations as specified in Annex 1. The capacity would be periodically reviewed through universal health periodic review mechanisms. Why do they make this so ridiculously insane to read? Well, that's part of that reason, I guess. Should such review identify resource constraints and other challenges in attending these capacities, World Health Organization and its regional offices shall, upon the request of the state party, provide or facilitate technical support and assist in mobilization of financial resources to develop, strengthen, and maintain such capacity. New number 5, World Health Organization shall develop early warning for criteria of assessing and progressively updating the national, regional, and global risk posed by the event of unknown causes or source, and shall convey the risk assessment to states parties in accordance with Articles 11 and 45 where appropriate. The risk assessment shall indicate, based on the best available knowledge, the level of risk or potential spread and risk of potential serious public health impacts based on assessed infectious and severity of the illness. Each party state shall assess the notification article. Each state party shall assess events occurring within its territory by using the decision instrument in Annex 2 within 48 hours of the national IHR focal point receiving the relevant information. Each state party shall notify WHO by the most effective means of communication available by way of national IHR focal point, and within 24 hours of assessment of public health information of all events which may constitute a public health emergency of international concern within its territory in accordance with the decision instrument, as well as any health measure implemented in the response to these events if the notification received by who involves the competency in the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, the Food and Agricultural Organization, FAO, or World Organization of Animal Health, or OIE, in the UN Environment Program, UNEP, or other relevant entities who shall immediately notify. They struck out the IAEA and put in relevant entities. That's concerning right there, because that literally takes away the chain of command for everything up, for anything that doesn't do this. Okay, so an atomic disaster happens. Okay, now relevant entities, I guess that would fall under the IAEA. Blight happens, I guess that would fall under the Food and Agriculture Organization. An extinction of an animal for some reason happens, I guess that would be under Animal Health. Environment Program, climate change? Or other relevant entities. Like what? I mean, spell it out for us. Like what? Following a notification, a state party shall continue to communicate to the WHO by the most efficient means of communication available, timely, accurate, and sufficiently detailed public health information available to it on the notified event, where possible, including genetic sequence data. Where have we heard that before? Case definitions, laboratory results, source and type of risk, a number of cases and deaths, conditions affecting the spread of the disease, and the health measures employed, and report when necessary the difficulties faced and support needed in responding to potential public health emergency of international concern. Article 9, other reports. World Health Organization may take into account reports from sources other than notifications or consultations, and shall assess these reports according to the established epidemiological principles, and then communicate information on the event to the state party in whose territory the event is allegedly occurring. So we say it's happening. Okay. There's your alleged occurrence. Now we have to just give a little bit of proof, and there you go. Ooh. This is taken out of it. Before taking any action based on such reports, who shall consult with an attempt to obtain verification from the state party in whose territory the event is allegedly occurring in accordance with the procedure set forth in Article 10 to this end. Basically, since they've removed that, all I have to say is, hey, this is occurring. Here's something to back me up. And they move in because they don't have to prove it now. Because that was struck from that. They don't have to prove it. All they have to do is say, this is happening. Let's see, who shall make the WHO shall make the information received available to the states parties and only where it is duly justified. Only where it is duly justified means they don't have to give you any information about it. You just have to comply. May World Health Organization maintain the confidentiality of the source. They don't even have to tell you where it comes from. They just say, hey, this is happening. This is what you must do. Comply or die. Okay, maybe the die part is a little bit radical in that situation, but we know it's coming. This information will be used in accordance with the procedure set forth in Article 11. Article 10 is a verification. Within 24 hours of receiving information, WHO shall request, struck out, in accordance with Article 9, because that was removed, World Health Organization shall request verification from a state party of reports from sources other than notifications or consultations of events which may constitute a public health emergency of international concern allegedly occurring in the state's territories. In such cases, WHO shall inform the state party concerned regarding the reports if it is seeking to verify. For clarification, there have been reports of another bird flu running around the United States. And there's a few other countries. I think there was one in Europe. One in Asia. I know that were reporting that humans had contracted some type of bird flu. The first reported cases. That's all they need. That's all they need to enforce lockdown. That's all they need to move in and do whatever they want. It's just for you to say, hey, this is happening. This dude's got whatever. That's it. Pursuant to the foregoing paragraph, answer Article 9, because that's struck out, each state party, when requested by World Health Organization, shall verify and provide within 24 hours an initial reply to or acknowledgement of the request from World Health Organization within 24 hours available public health information on the status of each referred to in World Health Organization request and information to World Health Organization in context of assessment under Article 6, including relevant information as described in paragraphs 1 and 2 of that article. When World Health Organization receives information of an event that may constitute a public health emergency of international concern, it shall offer within 24 hours to collaborate with a state party concerned in assessing the potential for international disease spread, possible interference with international traffic, and the adequacy of control measures. Such activities may include collaboration with other standard-setting organizations and offer to mobilize international assistance in order to support the national authorities in conducting and coordinating on-site assessment. Within 24 hours of receiving, this is actually added in, within 24 hours of receiving a WHO offer of collaboration, the state party may request additional information supporting the offer. World Health Organization shall provide such information within 24 hours, within 48 hours. When 48 hours have elapsed since the initial World Health Organization offer of collaboration, failure by the state party to accept the offer of collaboration shall constitute rejection of purpose of sharing available information with the state's parties under paragraph 4 of this section. If the state party does not accept the offer of collaboration within 48 hours, the WHO shall, struck out may, took out the, we'll do it if we want to, and made it to where it has to be done. when justified by the magnitude of public health risk, immediately share with other states' parties the information available to it, whilst encouraging the state party to accept the offer of collaboration by World Health Organization, taking out into account the views of the state party concerned. So the World Health Organization has full control to do whatever the hell it wants if you say, hey, something is going on, which you have to tell them by this account. Subject to paragraph 2 of this article, World Health Organization shall send to all state parties and, as appropriate, to relevant intergovernmental organizations as soon as possible and by the most efficient means available in confidence, such public health information which has received under Article 5 to 10 inclusive or which is available to the public domain. That was added, and which is necessary to enable states parties to respond to a public health risk. The WHO shall communicate information to other states parties that might need them in preventing the occurrence from similar incidents. Shall was added. Shall is a special word. Like we said before, when it struck out the may, they have to communicate this. They have to say, hey, this is going on here. This may affect you. Keep a lookout. Which sounds good. Who shall use the information received in Article 6, strikeout, and 8, and paragraph 2 of Article 9, which is striked out and just includes the 9, for verification, assessment, and assistance purposes under the regulations and use unless otherwise agreed with the states parties referred into these provisions, shall strike out the word not, changing it completely, shall make this information generally available to other states parties when, struck out, until such time as, when the event is determined to constitute a public health emergency of international concern in accordance with Article 12 or information evidencing the international spread of infection or contamination has been confirmed by the World Health Organization in accordance with established epidemiological principles, or there is evidence that control measures against the international spread and are unlikely to succeed because of the nature of the contamination, disease agent, vector of reservoir, or the state party lacks sufficient occupational capacity to carry out necessary measures to prevent further spread of a disease, or the nature and scope of the international movement for travelers, baggage, cargo, containers, conveyances, goods, or postal parcels that may be affected by the infection or contamination requires the immediate application of international control measures, or this was added, who determines it is necessary that such information be made available to other state parties to make it informed, timely risk assessment. WHO shall inform, not consult with, just inform state parties in whose territory the event is occurring as to its intent to make information available under this article. When information received by World Health Organization under paragraph 2 of this article is made available to states parties in accordance with these regulations, WHO shall make it available to the public if other information about the same event has already become publicly available. There is a need for the dissemination of authoritative and independent information. This was added. WHO shall annually report to the Health Assembly on all activities under this article, including instances of sharing information that has not been verified by a state party whose territory in an event may constitute a public health emergency of international concern is or is allegedly occurring within states parties through alert systems. Allegedly. You don't have to prove it, you just have to say it. Article 12, determination of a public health emergency of international concern, public health emergency of regional concern, or immediate health alert. The Director General shall determine on the basis of information received, in particular from the state party within those territories and events is occurring, whether an event constitutes as public health emergency or international concern in accordance with the criteria and the procedures set out for these regulations. If the Director General considers, based on the assessment under these regulations, that a potential or actual public health emergency of international concern is occurring, the Director General shall notify all states party and seek to consult with the state party in whose territory the event arises. Article, let's see, where was it? I almost skipped a whole line. The event arises regarding this preliminary determination and may, in accordance with the procedures set forth in Article 49, seek the views of the committee established under Article 48, hereinafter the Emergency Committee. If the Director General determines, and it's scratched out, and the state party are in agreement regarding this determination, you don't have to agree. Our government does not have to agree. If the Director General says it's happening, son. That the event constitutes as a public health emergency or international concern. The Director General shall, in accordance with the procedures set forth in Article 49, seek the views of the scratch out committee established under the Article 48, hereinafter Emergency Committee, on appropriate temporary recommendations. This whole thing was scratched out completely. If, following the consultation in paragraph 2 above, the Director General at the state party in whose territory the event arises do not come to a consensus within 48 hours, or whether the event constitutes a public health emergency of international concern, a determination shall be made in accordance with the procedures set forth in Article 49. They scratched that out because the state party does not have to agree. The Director General has full control. In determining whether an event constitutes as public health emergency for international concern, the Director General shall consider A, information provided by the state party by other state parties available in the public domain or otherwise available under Articles 5 through 10, B, the decision instrument contained in Annex 2, C, the advice of the Emergency Committee, D, specific principles as well as available scientific evidence, other relevant information, and E, an assessment of risk to human health or the risk of potential spread of disease and the risk of an interference with international traffic. If the Director General, following consultations with the Emergency Committee and relevant states parties, scratched out within those whose territory the public health emergency of international concern has occurred, that's taken out because they do not have to agree and comply. The Director General just says, do it. Considers that a public health emergency of international concern has ended, the Director General shall take the decisions in accordance with the procedure set out in Article 49. This is added. Where an event has not been determined to meet the criteria for public health emergency or of international concern, but the Director General has determined it requires heightened international awareness and potential international public health response, the Director General, on the basis of information received, may determine at any time to issue an immediate public health alert to the states parties and may consult the Emergency Committee in a matter consistent with the procedures set out in Article 49. This was added as well. A regional director may determine that an event constitutes a public health emergency of regional concern and provide related guidance to states parties in the region either before or after notification of an event that may constitute a public health emergency or international concern is made to the Director General, who shall inform all states parties. At the request of a state party, which is scratched out, the World Health Organization shall offer assistance, scratch out, collaborate, to a state party in the response to public health risks and other events by providing technical guidance and assistance and by assessing the effectiveness of control measures in place, including the mobilization of international teams of experts for on-site assistance where necessary. The state party shall accept or reject such an offer of assistance within 48 hours, and in case the rejection of such an offer shall provide to WHO and rationale for the rejection, which WHO shall share with other state parties. Basically, what this is saying is the WHO shall offer assistance to help out. Lockdowns occur. Let's just say United Nations troops enforce those lockdowns. The country doesn't even have to agree. They just say, hey, this is happening. Immediately, the World Health Organization locks that area down. And they're enforced completely, 100%. Your compliance is not necessary. You will do it. Let's continue. If WHO, in consultation with the states party concerned and as provided in Article 12, determines that a public health emergency of international concern is occurring, it shall, not may, it shall offer, in addition to the support indicated in paragraph 3 to this article, further assistance to the state party, including an assessment of the severity of international risk and the adequacy of control measures, such as collaboration may include the offer to mobilize international assistance in order to support the national authorities in conducting and coordinating on-site assessments when requested by the state party. WHO shall provide information supporting such an offer. This is added. The state party shall accept or reject such an offer of assistance within 48 hours, and in the case of rejection of such an offer, shall provide to the World Health Organization a rationale for the rejection, which the World Health Organization shall share with other state parties regarding on-site assessments in compliance with its national law. A state party shall make reasonable efforts to facilitate short-term access to relevant sites in the event of a denial. It shall provide its rationale for the denial of access. So in other words, you say something is going on, they're like, hey, we're going to move in. You say, I got this. You have to, beyond a shadow of a doubt, prove that you've got this. Because if you can't, your compliance is not necessary. They do what they want. Temporary recommendations may include the deployment of expert teams as well as health measures to be implemented by the state party experiencing the public health emergency of international concern or by other states parties regarding persons, baggage, cargo, containers, conveyances, goods, and or postal parcels to prevent or reduce the international spread of disease and avoid unnecessary interference with international traffic. You guys remember the anthrax scare right after 9/11? Some of you may be too young to even remember that. I remember that. 9/11 was my 16th birthday. That actual day was my 16th birthday. And then after that, it was like, oh, well, we got this envelope in the mail. It's got white powder on it. Anthrax. Some of them were. Most of them were actually baby powder. World Health Organization moves in for that. You feeling good yet? Because this is already starting to scare the shit out of me. This was added at the end. In developing temporary recommendations, the Director General shall consult with relevant information. Shall consult with relevant international agencies such as ICAO, IMO, and WTO. I don't know what the fuck those are. I guess that's a World Trade Organization. I don't know what these two are. In order to avoid, well, hold on. What is that? ICAO. International Civil Aviation Organization, or International Civil Aviation Organization. Okay, so the people who control civilian travel? Hold up. So now they can... So now they can make sure that you don't fly even across state. Wow. Okay. What is IMO? International Maritime Organization. Okay, so you can't use a boat to travel anywhere. WTO. This is getting really, really interesting. Yeah, the World Trade Organization is the only international organization dealing with global rules of trade. It is main function to assure that trade flows as smoothly, predictably, and freely as possible. So they can shut down any trade from a country that is having some type of issue that they don't even have to prove. They can just say it's happening. And they shut down air travel, sea travel, and trade. Whoa. Okay. NWTO, in order to avoid unnecessary interference with international travel and trade as appropriate. Additionally, temporary recommendations shall allow for the appropriate exemption of essential healthcare workers and essential medical products and supplies from travel and trade restrictions. And of course, government officials. Can't stop them from going around the world, like Nancy Pelosi going to a war-torn Ukraine, or Jill Biden, you know, the president's wife, the first lady. Yeah, they're exempt. You know that. And all of this has been added in implementing health measures pursuant to these regulations, including Article 43. States parties shall make reasonable efforts taking into account relevant international law to ensure that contingency plans are in place to ensure that the healthcare worker movement and supply chains are facilitated in a public health emergency of international concern. Travel restrictions do not unduly prevent the movement of healthcare workers necessary for public health responses. Trade restrictions make provisions to protect supply chains from manufacture and transport of essential medical products and supplies, and the repatriation of travelers addressed in a timely manner, given evidence-based measures to prevent the spread of disease. Again, you can't go anywhere. This is sounding like Shanghai. Y'all know what's going on there, right? If you don't, you might want to look that up. The emergency committee shall be composed of experts selected by the Director General from the IHR expert roster, and when appropriate, other expert advisory panels of the organization, as well as regional directors from any impacted region. The Director General shall determine the duration of membership with a view to ensuring its continuity in the consideration of a specific event and its consequences. The Director General shall select the members of Emergency Committee on the basis of expertise and experience required for any particular session, and with due regard to the principles of equitable age, gender, and or geographical representation, and require training in these regulations before participation. Strikes this out, at least one member, but adds members of emergency committees should include at least one expert nominated by the state party within whose territory, that was just to scratch out grammar, I guess. The state party within whose territory the event arises, added, as well as experts nominated by other affected state parties for the purposes of Articles 48 and 49. An affected state party refers to the state party either geographically proximate or otherwise impacted by the event in question. If the emergency committee is not unanimous in findings, and members shall be entitled to express his or her dissenting professional views in an individual or group report, which shall state the reasons why a divergent opinion is held and shall form part of the emergency committee's report. The composition of the emergency committee and its complete reports shall be shared with member states. The Director General shall invite affected state parties, including the state party in whose territory this event arises, to present their views to the emergency committee. To that effect, the Director General shall notify states parties of the dates and the agenda of the meeting of the emergency committee with as much advance notice as necessary. The state party in whose territory the event arises may not seek a postponement of meeting of the emergency committee for the purpose of presenting its views thereto. Affected states parties, scratched out, in whose territory the event has occurred, take that out. Affected states parties may propose the Director General determination of a public health emergency of international concern and or temporary recommendations, and may make a presentation to that effect to the emergency committee. New Chapter 4, Article 53, Biscatar. What does that even mean? Hold on. Bisquutar. No, that's not right. I misspelled that. Let's see. Bisquuater. Quat. Twice and third time, fourth time, bis. Okay. Okay, so that's Latin for twice, once, twice, three, four times, five times, whatever. Okay. So that is Article 53, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, whatever the hell that means. The compliance committee. The state parties shall establish a compliance committee that shall be responsible for considering information submitted to it by WHO and states parties relating to compliance with obligations under these regulations, monitor, advising on, and or facilitating assistance on matters relating to compliance with a view to assisting states parties to comply with obligations under these regulations, promoting compliance by addressing concerns raised by states parties regarding implementation of and compliance with obligations under these regulations, and submitting an annual report to each health assembly describing the work of the compliance committee during the reporting period, the concerns regarding non-compliance during the reporting period, and any conclusions and recommendations of the committee. So basically, they must send a report, an annual report, saying, hey, we're going to do this for the compliance of this. These are our concerns with our people not complying, and here's what we're going to do about it. The compliance committee shall be authorized to request further information on matters other than under its consideration. Undertake with the consent of any state party concerned, information gathering in the territory of that state party, consider any relevant information submitted to it, seek the services of experts and advisors, including representatives of NGOs or members of public as appropriate, and make recommendations to a state party concerned and or WHO regarding how the state party may improve compliance and recommended technical assistance and financial support. The members of the Compliance Committee shall be appointed by states parties from each region, comprising 6 government experts from each region. The Compliance Committee shall be appointed for 4-year terms and met 3 times per year. The Compliance Committee shall strive to make its recommendations on the basis of consensus. The Compliance Committee may request the Director General to invite representatives of the United Nations and its specialized agencies and other relevant intergovernmental organizations or non-governmental organizations in official relations with WHO to designate the representatives to attend the committee session where appropriate to address a specific issue under consideration. Such representatives, with the consent of chairperson, make statements on the subjects under discussion. For each session, the Compliance Committee shall prepare a report setting forth the committee's views and advice. The report shall be approved by the Compliance Committee before the end of the session. Its views and advice shall not commit World Health Organization, state parties, or other entities and shall be formulated as advice to the relevant state party. If the Compliance Committee is not unanimous in its findings, any member shall be entitled to express his or her dissenting professional views in an individual or group report, which shall state the reasons why a divergent opinion is held and shall perform part of the committee's report. The Compliance Committee's report shall be submitted to all states parties and to the Director General, who shall submit reports and advise the Compliance Committee to Health Assembly or the Executive Board, as well as any relevant committees for consideration as appropriate. Okay, so you say you have a problem. World Health Organization says, hey, we're going to move in. We're going to take this. And you say, no, here, I've got it. And this is how. They can still say, too bad, we're doing it anyway. You must give overwhelming evidence that you can take care of it, or we will. Interesting. The period provided in execution of Article 22 of the Constitution of the World Health Organization for rejection of or reservation to these regulations stricken out or an amendment thereto shall be 18 months from the date of notification by the Director General of adoption of these regulations, stricken out, or of an amendment to these regulations. So basically, World Health Organization can move in and stay there for 1.5 years. Up to 1.5 years. For whatever problem. Yeah. By Health Assembly, any rejection or where did I put it? Any rejection or reservation received by the Director General after the expiry of that period shall have no effect. The period provided in execution of Article 22 of the Constitution of the World Health Organization for rejection or reservation to... Oh, wait. No. Hold on. The period provided in execution of Article 22 of the Constitution of the World Health Organization for rejection of or reservation to these regulations shall be 18 months from the date of notification by the Okay, so you have 18 months to say, get the fuck out. If not, any other time you say that shall have no effect. So you have 1.5 years to say, get the hell out. I got this. If you don't do it within 18 months, they're there permanently. The period provided in execution of Article 22 of the Constitution of the World Health Organization for rejection of reservation to an amendment to these regulations shall be 6 months from the date the notification of the Director General of the adoption of an amendment to these regulations by the Health Assembly and rejection of reservation received by Director General after the expiry period shall have no effect. The period provided in execution of Article 22 of the Constitution of World Health Organization for rejection of or reservation to an amendment to these regulations shall be 6 months. So you have, when you say, hey, there is a problem, the World Health Organization says, we've got this. If you don't provide overwhelming evidence that you can handle it yourself, they move in. You can't change any of their rulings, their effects, if you don't do it within the first 6 months. And if you don't object to anything, or you don't tell them to get the hell out and prove why you've got it within 18 months, they can stay indefinitely. They can do whatever they want. Is any objection? It don't matter. These regulations shall enter into force 24 months after the date of, I think I got a splinter block here. Shall after these regulations, damn words. These regulations shall enter into force 24 months after the date of notification referred to in this paragraph 1 of this article, and amendments to these regulations shall enter into force 6 months after the date of notification referred to in the paragraph here. Paragraph 1 bis of this article. Except for a state that has rejected these regulations or an amendment thereto in accordance with Article 61, a state that has made a reservation for which these regulations shall enter into force as provided by Article 62, a state that becomes a member of the World Health Organization after the date of notification by the Director General referred to in paragraph 1. Whoa, what? These regulations shall enter into, okay, so they, 2 years after the date of notification referred to in this paragraph, whoa. Well, are you saying that these regulations shall enter into force 24 months after the date of notification referred to in this paragraph of this article? Okay, so 2 years after the date of notification, everything goes into force except for a state that becomes a member of the World Health Organization after the date of notification by Director General referred to in the first paragraph of this article, and which is not already a part of those regulations, for which these regulations shall enter into force as provided in Article 6, and a state not a member of the World Health Organization that accepts regulations for which they shall enter into force in accordance. That sounds like an out for certain countries. That sounds like an exemption for countries that are not part of the World Health Organization as it stands, which we are. By the way, Orange Man tried to take us out. If a state is not able to adjust or its domestic legislative and administrative arrangements fully within these regulations or amendments thereto, within these periods set out in paragraph 2 of this article as applicable, the state shall submit within the period specified in paragraph 1 of this article a declaration to the Director General recording the outstanding adjustments and achieve them no later than 12 months after the entry into force of these regulations or amendments thereto for that state party. The state shall submit within the period specified in paragraph 1 of this article a declaration to the Director General regarding the outstanding adjustments and achieve them no later than 12 months. So you must prove that you can handle it, and you must take those adjustments to handle it no later than 12 months. Full compliance, no later than 12 months. So you got 1 year. Wow. Okay, there are some blank pages here. Keep scrolling. Okay, that's the end of that document. Move on to the next one. This is getting worrisome. Can I removed all that, right? How did I remove this right here? How did that happen? There we go. Whatever. Let me scroll over. Here we go. Zero draft report for the working group on strengthening WHO preparedness and response to health emergencies to the 75th World Health Assembly. Again, anything in bold has been added. Anything that has been stricken out has been removed. Let's go. Background, mandate, and scope of the member states working group on strengthening World Health Organization preparedness and response to health emergencies. Member states working group and strengthening World Health Organization preparedness and response to health emergencies was established with a mandate derived from Resolution WHA 7407 or 0.7. That was in 2021, and by decision WHA 7416 in 2021. This is Agenda 2021. The WGPR successfully submitted its first report, and the latter mandate was fulfilled successfully with the submission of the report, which was adopted by consensus by the WGPR, which is, what was it again? Working group, or member states working group. Working group on strengthening WHO preparedness. Oh, okay, yeah. The working group to basically the arm of the World Health Organization. I guess you could say the military arm of the World Health Organization at that point. Which would probably be the United Nations Army at that point, UN soldiers, blue hats. That would probably be what that is. What's going on? The World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum, is holding a summit for 195 countries. That is every country around the world to vote on whether the World Health Organization should be able to control every aspect of everything in your entire life during the next pandemic. Yes, you heard that correctly. Next pandemic comes around, World Health Organization has control of the entire world. Now, I will actually link these articles. Yeah, hell no. I will actually link these articles for you guys. Gothic's actually, I was looking for these things for a long time, and it was scrubbed from the internet. All the articles that were saying, hey, this is happening, this is going to happen, they're doing this, all those articles were scrubbed from every reputable source. The only thing you could find was just like websites like you've never heard of, things like that. It just could be like, okay, this is some bullshit. These come from the World Health Organization site themselves, ladies and gentlemen. These come from the World Economic Forum themselves. Yes, they are saying that all they have to do is a country to say, hey, we have a problem. This is starting to pop up in our area. They have to do it to the World Health Organization. And in 48 hours, tell the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization says, okay, we're moving in. Then you have to provide overwhelming proof that you can handle it. If you do not, the World Health Organization moves in. You've got 6 months to say, hey, we need to change this because this will affect this. If you don't do it in 6 months, all objections are null and void. You've got 18 months to say get the fuck out and provide overwhelming proof that you can handle it. If you do not within 18 months, they can stay indefinitely if they want to. And then you got 2 years to fall into compliance, or they can take control indefinitely. That is exactly what the hell they were saying in that last document. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Where were we? I was looking up the WGPR thing. The WGPR successfully submitted its first report, and the latter mandate was fulfilled successfully within the submission of the report, which was adopted by consensus by the WGPR and welcomed at the World Health Assembly and its second special session, November 29th through December 1st of 2021, which led to the historic formation of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Body, INB, to draft and negotiate the World Health Organization Convention Agreement and other international instruments of pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response, PPR, and interim report, which also submitted to the executive board and its 150th session, fulfilling part of the former mandate. This final report is, these are just updates to what's going on here. Where is it? Short summary of the process and analysis. The WGPR is pretty much the military wing, would be pretty much the military wing of the World Health Organization to facilitate member states' review and discussion. The World Health Organization Secretariat created the WHO dashboard of COVID-19 related recommendations, a public website. This is why it is happening. This is why it is happening. Because of COVID-19, now we must give the entire world's sovereignty over to one organization. Now, the talk of, the New World Order thing has been decades old. Even longer than I've been alive. I'm 36 years old. Even longer than I've been alive. We are seeing it form right here, right now. This was Agenda 2020 or Agenda 21. That was supposed to happen in 2021. But I think Orange Man was the actual reason why it was pushed back. Now it's Agenda 2030. I'm fucking done with this. I am so damn done with this. We are an hour in. This is the reason why. I'm going to provide these links. I'll post these links on the chat and everything where I've got this from, so you can look this shit up yourself to know that I'm not bullshitting, to know that I'm not lying like I typed this up on my own or some shit. No, you can find it. You can read it. They are literally saying that if anything else like COVID happens again, mind you, smallpox vials are still missing from Philly. Mind you, there are reports of another bird flu happening here in the United States and other countries around the world. They have to, anything like that, they have to report to the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization says, I'm moving in. They have full control. Air, land, and sea. We will be a Shanghai situation yet again if something like COVID were to happen. Orange Man was taking us out of the World Health Organization probably because he noticed this. And immediately Biden put us back in. Son of a fucking bitch. All right, let me go ahead and no, that's not it. I'm gonna do it off screen here. What was it? Oh. No, as a matter of fact, I know where it is. I know where it is. I can just grab the links from her. Let me go to her page real quick and follow along in the chat. See, where did she grab those links? Because this far into the video because of the live chat replay. Oh, it won't let. I don't remember the timestamps on everything. Come on, show me where you got that. There's one of them. Copy link address. I'm going to throw that one. Oh, you son of a bitch. Open link in new tab. Go ahead and throw it in the YouTube one. I will hit that up after that as well. Throw it in the. Oh, you son of a. All right, there it is in the Twitch one. Let me find the other document. There's the one I just linked. No, it wasn't long after that one. Where did you put it, Gothics? Gimme, 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 gimme. Where the fuck is I should have already had these links available, but She's got a long list of chats and everything, so. Sorry, guys, just give me a minute. There it is. No. That was when I just entered. The Streamlabs talking. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Where? Screw it. I'll pin it afterwards. I'll find the links again and I'll pin it afterwards. All right. But yeah. This came from my email because I had to email it to myself. I was actually away from my computer, so I will find it in her channel and I'll pin it on the comments section so you guys can check that shit out too. All right. Moving on, because we're an hour in right now. The Ukrainian Supplemental Appropriations Act. $40 billion in emergency funding to support Ukrainian people and defend global democracy in the wake of Russia's unprovoked attack on Ukraine. Okay. Okay, at the beginning, we sent like, what was it, 13.8 billion over there? And then another 18 or 800 million was thrown their way a couple weeks later. Not even a couple weeks. It was just like a couple of days or something like that. It was almost a week later. And now Biden said, hey, we need another $33 billion to give to them. For a war they're supposedly winning hands down, like we had covered yesterday. Okay, so now they upped it to $40 billion. Let's see what this includes. Okay, the Department of Justice, $67 million for DOJ General Administration to help cover the cost of seizing, retaining, and selling forfeited property, e.g. yachts of Russian oligarchs related to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. What? Number one, that was found to be illegal. Yeah, that has actually just come across my phone. That was found to be illegal. Ukrainian security assistance innovation. $6 billion to provide assistance, including training, equipment, weapons, logistic support, and supplies and services, salaries and stipends, sustainment and intelligence support to the military and national security forces of Ukraine. Mind you, a country that is not part of the United Nations. A country that wants to join the United Nations, a country whose name means the borderland. It was supposed to be a neutral land between the United Nations and Russia after the fall of the Soviet Union. We installed our own presidents in there, and then they're like, hey, we want to be part of the United Nations now. Russia said no. They kept pressing forward because it was supposed to be a neutral territory. They kept pressing forward with it. Now this is happening. So if Ukraine does enter the United Nations, we can put military weapons on the border of Russia. Back in the 90s, we said we would not take one more inch eastward. Now we're moving eastward. Let's see. Replenishment of U.S. stocks. What? $9.05 billion to the replenish U.S. stocks of equipment sent to Ukraine through drawdown authority. So we have spent $9 billion of our weapons. We have sent $9 billion of our weapons over there to help them. And you want to print off more U.S. money or borrow the money from other places where we're in incredible debt as it is right now to replenish what we gave to Ukraine for a war that we have started. Whoa. European command operations, $3.9 billion for mission support, intelligence support, hardship pay for troops deployed to the region, and equipment including Patriot batteries. Okay, Patriot missile system is pretty fucking badass. I used to work on them. I used to build them. They're pretty fucking badass. The bill also increases the cap on assistance that can be provided to friendly foreign nations from $450 million to $950 million. So you go up $500 million more. What the fuck? Defense Production Act, $600 million to mitigate industrial base constraints for faster missile production and expanded domestic capacity of strategic and critical minerals. Okay, so you want to build more places for us to increase missile production for a war that we started after we said in the 90s we wouldn't go any further east. Munitions and exportability funds, $500 million to procure critical munitions to increase the stocks of the Department of Defense, and $50 million to develop program protection strategies for systems identified for possible future export. $500 million to procure critical munitions to increase the stocks of the Department of the Defense. So in other words, we want $500 million to buy stocks and ammunition from other places because we can't make them that fast. And $50 million to develop the program protection strategies for systems identified for possible future export. Okay, so you want $50 million to explore whether you can buy this ammunition and sell it somewhere else. Oversight requires an inspector general to report on activities to execute funds in the bill, and the Department of Defense to report on measures taken to require enhanced in-use monitoring of equipment provided to Ukraine. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, $2 million for technical and regulatory support to Ukraine's nuclear regulatory. $2 million for technical and regulatory support. So $2 million to make sure that their nuclear power plants stay up and running. Why only $2 million for that? And billions for everything? I wonder whose pocket that $2 million is going into. That seems very low to make sure that their nuclear power plants stay up and running. That seems very, very low for something that hasn't been a problem for their entire existence, something that hasn't been a problem. Now we're spending a very minuscule amounts of this $40 billion to give to them to make sure that all that runs correctly. That seems like money laundering. Administration for children and families, $900 million to provide refugee support services such as housing, English language classes, trauma and support services, community support, including school impact grants, and case management for arrivals and refugees for Ukraine. Now, I'm all for refugees of war-torn countries. That's fine. Let's house them. Let's do what we can for them. But you want to spend $900 million to make sure they're housed, to make sure they learn English, to make sure they get any kind of PTSD, trauma support, including school impact grants for the people, for these schools that are teaching these children. Okay. $54 million to provide medical support, screening, and related public health activities for arrivals and refugees. Okay, that I can agree with. That I can agree with. We need to make sure that they're actually healthy and taken care of, that they're not actually coming over here and spreading more death and disease into our country. I get you with that. I agree. In addition, the legislation allows for certain benefits to be offered to arrivals and refugees from Ukraine after undergoing background checks. Of the amounts included in this title, more than $5 billion in total is included to address rapidly growing food insecurity globally and the impact of rising food prices because of the conflict in Ukraine. No, absolutely not. Because our country is paying our farmers to destroy food stocks, to destroy their crops, to destroy their fields. Our food processing plants are burning down a couple a week. Our food shortages have nothing to do with the war in Ukraine. $5 billion to go over there and to make sure that this helps their food shortage. How? How is $5 billion going to make crops grow faster? I don't understand that part. $5 billion to launder money because of food. Department of State, $13.926 billion, including $350 million for migration and refugee assistance to provide humanitarian support for the refugees overflows from Ukraine. Okay. $4 billion for the Foreign Military Financing Program to provide additional support for Ukraine and countries affected by the situation in Ukraine, including NATO Eastern Flank countries and other partners in the region to build and update their capabilities. So neighboring countries, we're giving money to neighboring countries for them to build up their armies, their munitions, because Russia said, do not get involved or we will go to war with you. Now we are giving them money to strengthen their militaries to go to war with Russia because they're getting involved. Yeah. $8.76 billion for the Economic Support Fund to respond to emergent needs in Ukraine, provide needed budget support to assist with Ukraine's continuity of government, and counter human trafficking, including $760 million to prevent and respond to global food insecurity. So more money? Wait. $5 billion plus $5.76 billion to prevent and respond to global food insecurity that we're causing. I need a drink. $190 million for diplomatic programs for diplomatic support and planned return of embassy Kiev, as well as supporting the operations of embassies in the region. $10 million for capital investment fund to support technology requirements related to the relocation and reopening of Kiev's embassy. The relocation and reopening of Kiev embassy. $110 million to the embassy security construction and maintenance to make needed infrastructure and security repairs to the embassy for Embassy Kiev. $120 million. You want to construct, maintain, and repair the old building, as well as make a new building for the embassy. What the fuck? $400 million for international narcotics control and law enforcement for Ukraine programming to support law. And let me ask you a question. Hold the fuck up. This makes no sense. If you want to build a new embassy and repair and update, repair and maintain the old embassy in a war-torn country, why are we doing that in a war-torn country before the war is over? It makes no sense. It's like playing Age of Empires. You send your settlers to repair a building while the army that you're defending yourself from is actively destroying your shit. You're killing your builders that you're going to have to replace in the game. You're killing your builders to repair buildings or to build buildings that the army can wipe out very quickly before anything ever comes up. It makes no sense. $400 million for international narcotics control and law enforcement of Ukraine programming to support law enforcement and the rule of law, including the investigation and documentation of war crimes and human rights atrocities and programs to combat human trafficking. Ukraine is one of the most corrupt countries in the fucking world. In the world. Human trafficking tunnels were found in abundance by Russian forces and destroyed. And you want to repair all that. You want to enforce all of that. Saying you're combating it? That makes no sense. $100 million for non-proliferation, anti-terrorism, demining and related programs to protect against chemical, biological, or radiological and nuclear incidents and expand demining programs. Does that have to do with the biolabs that were found there? U.S. Agency for International Development, $4.365 billion, including $4.35 billion for international disaster assistance to provide emergency food assistance to people around the world suffering from hunger as a result of the conflict in Ukraine and other urgent humanitarian needs of populations and communities inside Ukraine. $17 million for operating expenses to support operations that have had to move from Ukraine as possible return to Kiev. Huh? Most of this money seems like it's going to wait, didn't they say, hey, Elon Musk, give us $6 billion and we can end world hunger? From the total here, it seems like there's more than $6 billion being sent with no accountability in any of this shit. They don't have to prove where a single penny is going. No paper trail, no accountability, no receipts whatsoever for any of this money. They don't have to prove it. I'm starting to get pissed. $5 million, including Department of State Inspector General. $4 million to provide oversight of emergency funds and operations from the Department of State. $4 million to provide oversight of emergency funds and operations from the Department of State. So you're just giving them $4 million to say do whatever the fuck you want with it. $1 million to provide oversight for emergency funds and operations of USAID. Again, you're just giving them money to say do whatever the fuck you want with it. Multilateral assistance, $650 million, including $500 million to support the specialized facilities of European Bank and Reconstruction and Development to support Ukraine's economic and energy needs, $150 million to the global agricultural and food security programs to help countries, including Ukraine, weather impacts from rising food prices that we ourselves are causing. Increased authorities. The legislation includes $11 billion in authority to draw down defense articles and services and increase flexibility to provide excess equipment and direct procurement to Ukraine and other regional allies. $11 billion in authority to draw down defense articles and services and increase flexibility to provide excess equipment and direct procurement to Ukraine and other regional allies. In other words, $11 billion for them to overstock themselves. Excess equipment, overstock. What is equipment for that? I mean, are you saying I can buy $11 billion in pens and that counts too? I don't. Okay. $20 million to reimburse the Bill Immersion Humanitarian Trust, which is a critical backstop when international famine needs exceed available normal funding for U.S. assistance. For a famine that we are purposely causing. Department of Treasury, $52 million for special agents and associated support to trace Russian financial activities, including digital asset tracing, attribution of concealed efforts, and identifying true beneficial ownership. In addition, resources would support efforts to identify and combat the exploitation of Ukraine's vulnerable financial system. $52 million to say, hey, how much money does Russia have? Late Representative Don Young provides for the gratuity payment for the beneficiary of the late representative provides for the gratuity payment the beneficiary of the late Representative Don Young. Wait, what? What gratuity payment was he getting? Waiver language for certain intelligence programs. Oh, that's the end of that. Okay. All that money spent. On what? On something that we caused. To a country that was supposed to stay neutral. They were supposed to be a neutral land between NATO and Russia after the fall of the Soviet Union. Now, there were talks about bringing them into NATO so we could put weapons of war on the border of Russia, who they've been screaming about for decades. This is our enemy. When for decades, Russia hasn't done shit to us. $40 billion for them while we suffer here. While our border, our southern border, is wide open. Well, we got food shortages, gas prices through the fucking roof, inflation out the ass. People can barely afford to even put a roof over their heads, let alone buy a shirt to put on their back. It's getting so you can't even afford gas to go back and forth to work to earn the money to keep you housed. And we're spending this money over there. This right here was this was the actual initial proposal for all of that. The initial proposal of the money. I'm too damn pissed. I'm not going to get into any of this. Let me go ahead and put this in here. Damn it. These are the documents. Go ahead and look at them yourself. Why did that not send to Twitch? There we go. That one went. Okay. For a problem that we caused, our money is going overseas instead of here at home, where we struggle every single day. For a problem that we have caused. On a brighter note, the Ministry of Truth has been put on hold because the disinformation czar resigns. Board put on pause following criticism she spreads disinformation. She damn sure does. Let me retract this a little bit. She damn sure does, because this is a woman who, surprise, surprise, she helped the former president of Ukraine tell lies to the Ukrainian people. She helped hide the Hunter Biden laptop story, saying it was Russian disinformation. And she helped prop up the Russiagate hoax. And you know what caused this, ladies and gentlemen? Us, the people, independent media calling this shit out, the people all over TikTok, the people all over Twitter, the people everywhere calling her out on her shit. We did this. This is our win. The Department of Homeland Security puts a pause Monday on its disinformation board after the truth czar, who resigned Wednesday, came under fire for spreading disinformation herself. The Washington Post reported. Department of Homeland Security shut the board down Monday, and Nina Jankowicz, who was tapped to lead the department, drafted the resignation letter Tuesday, according to the Washington Post. Jankowicz was reportedly pulled into a meeting late Tuesday night, however, with the officials giving her the chance to stay on, and the department determines whether to move forward with a highly polarized board. Jankowicz formally resigned Wednesday, according to the Washington Post. Taylor Lorenz, the same woman that docs libs of TikTok. Wow. Here's a tweet from Taylor herself. Nina Jankowicz has officially resigned from the DGB and the Department of Homeland Security. Just 3 weeks after its announcement, the Disinformation Governance Board is being paused, and interdepartmental working groups have forced the Disinformation Board have been suspended. The decision comes as Jankowicz faced extreme backlash for pushing disinformation. These are not bright people. Bill Maher rips Nina Jankowicz Disinformation Governance Board. If Bill Maher calls out his own side, you've gone too fucking far. Seriously. Throughout his entire career, Bill Maher has been the brightest of the brightest and the best well-spoken left side commentator throughout my entire life. I used to love Bill Maher when I was on the left because the dude made sense. He would call out bullshit, but he would back it up. He would back up the side that still called out bullshit. When he calls you out and is relentless and says there is no fucking hope for you, you have gone too fucking far. Jankowicz attempted to discredit the Hunter Biden laptop story as a Trump campaign product while speaking to ABC News in 2020. This is also the woman who said the government should not control free speech in any way. They should not be regulating free speech. Then goes on to be the Ministry of Truth czar. Yeah. This is our win. During the second presidential debate, Jankowicz posted that the President Joe Biden cited 50 former NatSec officials and 5 former CIA heads that believe the laptop is a Russian influence op. And it came out earlier this year. Even the what was it? The Washington Post, New York Times. Someone, yeah, it was the New York Times. Even the New York Times, that was the first person to say, hey, this is a lie, came out earlier this year and said, hey, it's true. The laptop, whoa, no, yeah, that was a Washington Post that was banned on Twitter for saying this is real and would not get their account back until they deleted the tweet, and as a matter of principle, never did. So their account was shut down for over a year, I believe, or damn near close to it. The laptop was authenticated by several outlets, including the Daily Caller News Foundation. Jankowicz also claimed that the now discredited Steele dossier, Russiagate, was funded by Republicans in a 2017 tweet. She also exposed concern about Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter and was Welsh Independent. Bengal Dairies is back. What's going on, guys? Takeover of Twitter and what would happen if free speech absolutists were taking over more platforms. What would have happened had you have stayed? 1984 would have happened. Ministry of Truth would have happened. Lies, Russiagate lies. Hunter Biden laptop story being Russian disinformation would be the truth. If it wasn't for the people of the United States calling you out on your bullshit, that would be what we would be facing now. Ladies and gentlemen, chalk this up for a win for the people of the United States of America. This shit is done. For now. For now. This Ministry of Truth shit has been put on hold. Probably till they find somebody else that can't be discredited. NWO for life. No, you guys gotta go back to the beginning of this stream because it's fucking scary as hell. It really is. It frightens the fuck. It'll scare the shit out of you. Basically, what they're saying is on May 22nd through the 28th, all 195 countries will be voting that during the next pandemic, the World Health Organization has control over everything. Next pandemic happens, they control the air, they control the land, they control the sea, they control every bit of it. If you don't make changes within 6 months, whatever objection you have, null and void. If you don't say get the fuck out within 18 months, a year and a half, any objection, null and void. If you cannot prove you can stand on your own within 2 years, they stay permanently. That's a Shanghai situation for the entire world. I covered the entire document. You guys need to, once this is done, go back and look at it. Oh, you guys got jokes, huh? You guys got jokes. You ready for the World Health Organization to say you can't leave your home and weld you in place? Because we already have United Nations troops coming through our southern border. They're already here in the United States. And I guarantee you they're in your countries too. Yes, World Health Organization being able to determine every bit of your life. You can't leave your house. You can't go on a plane to go anywhere, even if it's just across your country. You can't get on a boat to travel across any bit of water. You can't drive. You can't do shit. You say that now. Another win for us, and this is just on Twitch. You guys need to go back for that. Matter of fact, I'll link it in both chats. Now, I do have audio problems on that episode because my noise gate on my mic was set way too high. But Brian comes through clear as hell. Let's see. Where is it? So 4, 5, 6. Matthias is after that. Where the hell is that? It was titled "What Happened to Fang Fang." As a matter of fact, I know it's on Rumble. No. My content. There we go. What? Here we go. I'll link this on both channels as well. We called this, ladies and gentlemen. Me and Brian went through the entire thing. We noticed in the what was it? The East China flight. What is it? East China Eastern Flight MU 5375. Now, that was the plane that crashed in Eastern China. Mysteriously, just like straight fell from the sky, just nosedive. Now, I'm talking about straight the fuck down. Within some of the reporting from like Vox, Bloomberg was reporting it, Breitbart was reporting it. The only person that was ever named in this flight was a woman named Fang Fang. Now, from us, From, I think it was 2013 to 2015, she was helping Eric Swalwell run for his state governance, getting funds for that. When it was found out that she was a Chinese spy, she mysteriously fled from the country. Nobody knows how. Our entire government was made aware of this. She fled in 2015, hasn't been seen since. It came up again in 2020 when Eric Swalwell was running for president, knocked him out of the running for president. And then earlier this year, Fang, now it never pointed to Christine Fang, that Chinese spy, never really pointed to her, but she was the only one in these articles that was ever named. It went into detail about her life. I guarantee. I go ahead, watch the Rumble video that I have posted for you guys. We go through it in autistic detail. Yes, I was having problems with my mic. The noise gate was set too high, but Brian comes in completely 100% clear. We called it. We said this was a deliberate plane crash. Probably to hide the fact, to make you think that the Chinese spy was dead. Now, her body still has yet to be found. 132 people, all supposedly dead. Her body and 12 others were never found. U.S. investigators believe someone on board deliberately crashed a China Eastern flight in March, the Wall Street Journal reported Tuesday, in which the Chinese deadliest air disaster in decades. That's bullshit. But anyway, the flight was traveling from coming to Guangzhou on March 21st when it inexplicably plunged from an altitude of 29,000 feet into a mountainside, killing all 132 people on board. Her Fang's body and 12 others were never found so far. So-called black box flight data recorders recovered from the site were sent to the United States for analysis. The data shows that someone, possibly a pilot or someone who had forced their way into the cockpit, input orders to send the Boeing 737-800 into a nosedive, according to the Wall Street Journal, which cited people familiar with the probe. The plane did what it was told to do by someone in the cockpit, the journal quoted, a person who is familiar with American officials' preliminary assessment, as saying, our source told Reuters. Okay. Our source told Reuters that investigators were instigating whether the crash was caused by a voluntary action involving the crew, though that does not necessarily mean the dive was intentional. U.S. officials believe that the conclusion is backed up by the fact that the Chinese investigators have so far not indicated any problems with the aircraft or flight controls that could have caused the crash and would need to be addressed in future flights, the newspaper said. Both the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board and Boeing declined to comment on the investigation of AFP Tuesday. According to the report from Boeing, investigators found no evidence of anything abnormal. Chinese Civil Aviation Administration said in April in a statement the CAC said staff had met safety requirements before takeoff. The plane was not carrying dangerous goods and did not appear to have run into any inclement weather, though the agency said a full investigation could take years. In the immediate aftermath of the crash, China's ruling Communist Party moved quickly to control information, revving up its censorship media machine as media outlets, local residents raced to the crash site. It has maintained its tight grip over the narrative with a preliminary probe, leaving key questions unanswered. Screenshots of the Wall Street Journal story appeared to have been censored both on China's major social media platform and messaging app on Wednesday, Reuters reported. After the fatal descent near the southern city of Wuzhou or whatever, authorities swiftly cordoned off a huge area, and China's internet regulator announced it had scrubbed vast amounts of illegal information on the China crash from China's tightly controlled web. A social media hashtag bearing the plane's flight number appeared to be censored. The crash was China's deadliest in around 30 years and dented the country's otherwise inevitable flight safety record. That is bullshit. That is bullshit. They say it was the deadliest crash. Oh, okay, that's true. But they also went earlier on was saying we haven't had a plane crash, commercial plane crash, in over 3 decades. Bullshit. But let's see. Deliberate crashes of jets are very rare. In 2015, a Germanwings co-pilot intentionally flew an airliner into a French mountainside, killing all 150 people on board. We fucking called it. We said this was intentionally done to make people think that Fang Fang, though never really truly implicated or connected in any way, the Chinese spy that was with Eric Swalwell, to make people think she was fucking dead. Her body has never been found, along with 12 other people. This was intentionally done. Oh, fuck. Okay. Yeah. This is a problem. This was intentionally fucking done. All right. We called it. We got it. God, I wish more people were actually aware of that. But yeah, that is true. However, ladies and gentlemen, it is 2 hours in. I've got things to do. It's almost 6 o'clock my time. I've got more work I need to be doing. I didn't mean to spend this much time. It was only supposed to be an hour, hour and a half. After this is done, definitely go back and check the first part of this segment, the first hour or so of this, because I go over everything about the World Health Organization being able to take full control over the next pandemic if this voting that happens next week goes through. I have no doubt that it will. Because why wouldn't it? I mean, Biden has already fucked this country from beginning to end. In the year and a half he's been in office, he's fucked this country over from beginning to end. Why would he not give up our ability to govern ourselves to an organization that praises China's lockdowns, that praises what's going on in Shanghai right now? Why would he not? But again, ladies and gentlemen, as Thomas Jefferson once said, when tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes duty. It is our duty not to comply. I will leave you with that final thought as I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate y'all listening. I appreciate y'all watching. Y'all are awesome as hell. But I will leave you with this as well. You have a voice. It is important. It's time to use it. Please, sit down. Let's talk. Take it easy, everybody. Have a good night. We will see you again very, very soon.